Everybody's heard about the Aztecs. Everybody's heard about the Maya. But before the Aztecs and before the Maya, there were a culture who are referred to as the Olmecs. I explored the Olmec mystery in considerable depth.
At the turn of the 19th to the 20th century, an era brimming with curiosity and the spirit of discovery, the ancient civilizations of Mesoamerica began to captivate scholars and adventurers alike. This period, steeped in Victorian-era fascination, saw ancient cultures not as relics of the past, but as windows into a grand, albeit lost, world.
The settlement story of the Americas is much more complicated than we've realized.
Fueled by a mix of exploration, colonization, and a penchant for romanticizing the unknown, people were drawn to the mysteries that ancient societies held. Institutions in Europe and the United States, including museums and universities, recognized the value of understanding these indigenous civilizations. They began to fund expeditions, not just for the sake of collecting artifacts, but to delve deeper into the history and culture of these ancient peoples. This marked a significant shift in archaeology, transforming it from a quest for treasures to a scientific discipline focused on careful excavation and analysis.
This is part of a curious mystery that is not unconnected to the genetic mystery.
The Olmec civilization, with its colossal heads and intricate stone structures, was one of the earliest to be uncovered. Yet in these initial stages, many artifacts were mistakenly attributed to the more familiar Maya and Aztec civilizations. This was largely due to their apparent similarities in artistic style, and because these civilizations were better understood at the time.
It's been known by archaeologists for quite a long time that there are anomalous skulls in parts of Brazil.
The unique aspects of Olmec art and iconography were not immediately recognized, highlighting the challenges faced by early archaeologists in differentiating between the complex cultures of the region. Two figures who played a pivotal role in bringing the wonders of Mesoamerica to the Western world were John Lloyd Stephens and Frederick Catherwood. Their expeditions, documented in Incidents of Travel in Central America, Chiapas and Yucatan, and Incidents of Travel in Yucatan, not only introduced the Maya civilization to many, but also set a standard for future archaeological work. Their detailed illustrations and engaging narratives captured the imagination of the public, sparking a wave of interest in ancient Mesoamerican cultures. This era also saw the beginnings of comparative archaeology, where discoveries from Mesoamerica were placed in a global context, offering new perspectives on the development of human societies. Museums evolved from mere collections of curiosities to centers of research and education, significantly contributing to the dissemination of knowledge about these ancient cultures. Furthermore, the late 19th and early 20th centuries witnessed the emergence of interdisciplinary approaches in archaeology, incorporating anthropology, linguistics, and even early environmental science, which enriched the understanding of Mesoamerican civilizations. The story of how the colossal stone heads became recognized as a key to understanding the Olmec civilization is a fascinating tale of curiosity, exploration, and eventual enlightenment within the archaeological world. Initially stumbled upon by Western archaeologists in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, these massive sculptures, some towering over 9 feet tall and weighing several tons, presented a mystery.
But what's fascinating about them is they are supposedly the first high civilization of Central America.
With their distinctive facial features, including flat noses and fleshy cheeks and often adorned with helmet-like headgear, they captivated those who found them but left many questions unanswered.
What do we think those helmets were that they were wearing?
Nobody knows, because no physical example of such a helmet has ever been found, just like no physical example of an Egyptian pharaoh's crown has ever been found.
The first significant acknowledgement of these heads came from José Melgari Serrano in 1862, when he uncovered one at Tres Zapotes in Veracruz. Melgar described the sculpture as having Ethiopian features, a reflection of the era's interpretations and biases, underscoring how little was known about the Olmecs then. Although Melgar's discovery was groundbreaking, it was initially seen as an isolated find rather than evidence of a broader, unknown civilization. For decades, these colossal heads were viewed more as curious anomalies rather than vital cultural artifacts. Without a wider archaeological context, their true significance was overlooked, and they were sometimes wrongly attributed to other known civilizations like the Maya or Aztec, or even to entirely speculative, unknown cultures. It was a puzzle missing its broader picture, waiting for the pieces to be put together. The narrative began to shift in the mid-20th century, thanks to more focused and systematic excavations in the Olmec heartland, led by archaeologists such as Matthew Stirling. These efforts unearthed additional colossal heads alongside other artifacts, helping to piece together the puzzle of the Olmec civilization. It was through this dedicated work that the Olmecs were finally recognized as a distinct and influential culture in Mesoamerica, predating and potentially influencing subsequent civilizations like the Maya and Aztecs. In 1945, a groundbreaking expedition led by Matthew Stirling to San Lorenzo Tenochtitlan dramatically advanced our understanding of the Olmec civilization, an enigmatic culture that laid the foundational stones of Mesoamerican history. Recognizing the potential significance of these sites, the Smithsonian Institution stepped in, providing the necessary support and funding for a more thorough exploration. The vastness of San Lorenzo, spreading across several kilometers, presented another hurdle. It was impossible to excavate the entire site in one go, so Stirling and his team had to make strategic decisions about where to dig, prioritizing areas where surface finds indicated the presence of significant artifacts. This meticulous approach to excavation was critical, requiring careful planning, mapping, and a methodical technique to ensure the delicate artifacts, some centuries old, were preserved for future study. As they cleared the jungle overgrowth and dug into the ancient soil, Stirling's team was not just unearthing artifacts, they were also piecing together the story of the Olmec civilization. Every artifact, every stone, and every fragment of pottery added a new chapter to our understanding of this ancient culture. The detailed recording and documentation of their findings were essential, providing a basis for future analysis and helping to paint a fuller picture of the Olmec way of life. San Lorenzo, dating back to around 1200 to 900 BCE, stands as a monumental beacon in the study of Mesoamerican history, often celebrated as the oldest major city in the region. This ancient city predates the civilizations of the Maya and Aztecs, providing a unique glimpse into the dawn of complex societies in the Americas. Thanks to radiocarbon dating, researchers have been able to pin down the timeline of San Lorenzo, offering a clearer view of the Olmec civilization's early days. Among the most striking discoveries at San Lorenzo, the site has yielded jade figurines and celts, indicating robust trade networks and the cultural significance of jade. An array of pottery styles found at the site offers insights into daily life, artistic expression, and the Olmec's trade relations. The discovery of large structures, including platforms and possible elite residences, points to a highly organized society capable of mobilizing significant labor resources. The urban layout of San Lorenzo, organized around a central axis, reflects a thoughtfully planned development. The existence of distinct ceremonial and residential areas suggests a sophisticated urban structure, possibly mirroring social hierarchies within the Olmec society. In the 1950s, the archaeological spotlight turned to Venta, an Olmec site in Tabasco, Mexico, building on the momentum of earlier discoveries at San Lorenzo. This shift marked a significant phase in unraveling the mysteries of the Olmec civilization, regarded as one of the earliest complex societies in Mesoamerica. With a renewed interest in the Olmec culture, archaeologists like Philip Drucker and Robert Heiser applied advanced methods and interdisciplinary approaches to dig deeper into the site's secrets, offering a more comprehensive understanding of this ancient civilization. Venta thrived between approximately 900 to 400 BCE, a period that witnessed the peak of Olmec cultural and artistic development. This era underscored the Olmecs' remarkable achievements in architecture, art, and urban planning, setting a precedent for subsequent Mesoamerican cultures. Among the distinct features of Venta is the Great Pyramid, a monumental structure made of earth and clay, noted for its unique conical shape. Unlike the pyramidal structures that would later dominate Mesoamerican landscapes, the Great Pyramid's design and scale highlight the Olmecs' advanced engineering skills and their capacity for organizing large-scale construction projects. This pyramid, along with other structures at the site, was aligned with celestial bodies, hinting at the Olmec's sophisticated understanding of astronomy and suggesting its role as a ceremonial and cultural hub. The systematic excavation efforts at Venta brought to light not only architectural innovations but also a wealth of artifacts, including the iconic colossal heads carved from basalt, believed to represent rulers or significant figures within Olmec society. Similarly, altars adorned with intricate carvings provided glimpses into the civilization's mythology and rituals. Venta also revealed complex burial sites and offerings, including serpentine mosaic pavements, which offered insights into the civilization's funerary practices and religious beliefs. These findings have been instrumental in piecing together the social structure, religious practices, and artistic achievements of the Olmec civilization, significantly influencing the study of Mesoamerican archaeology. However, the preservation of Venta faces challenges due to the tropical climate and human factors, underscoring the importance of ongoing research and conservation efforts. The exploration of Venta in the 1950s was a watershed moment in understanding the depth and complexity of the Olmec civilization, providing a foundation for future studies and ensuring the legacy of this pivotal culture in Mesoamerican history remains appreciated and preserved. In 1929, a remarkable discovery was made in the Topkapi Palace Library in Istanbul by Gustav Deismann. Amidst a collection of parchments, he unearthed the Piri Reis map, a world map drawn on gazelle skin by the Ottoman Turkish admiral and cartographer Piri Reis in 1513.
So this map appears to incorporate many features that are not supposed to have been known about in 1513.
This historical artifact has since captivated scholars, historians, and conspiracy theorists alike, not just for its intricate detail and accuracy, but also for its enigmatic portrayals of the globe's coastlines, including what some believe to be the coastline of Antarctica.
Why don't they see the same thing that you do?
They think it's just fantasies of the map makers.
Mapped over 3 centuries before its official discovery by a Russian expedition in 1820, the map is renowned for its astonishing precision in depicting various coastlines. For instance, the eastern coast of South America and the Caribbean islands are outlined with a precision that far surpasses many contemporary maps of the era. The Brazilian coastline is detailed with river inlets and capes, which many European maps at the time either overlooked or misrepresented. Moreover, the map is filled with annotations that provide a rich historical context, shedding light on the maritime knowledge of the early 16th century. These notes are not just practical, detailing crucial information about ocean currents, but also ethnographic, offering insights into the early encounters between Europeans and indigenous populations. The map even ventures into the realm of the mythical, with depictions of legendary islands and sea creatures that reflect the folklore and seafaring culture of the period. Perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the Piri Reis map is its depiction of a southern landmass connected to South America by a narrow isthmus.
I think we're looking at hints and clues that something is missing in our story.
This portrayal includes detailed geographical features like mountain ranges, bays, and inlets that bear a striking resemblance to the subglacial topography of Antarctica, as it might appear without its ice sheet. These details are speculative yet align curiously well with modern seismic data, despite the fact that this area was not officially discovered until 1820 and not accurately mapped without ice until much later with advanced seismic equipment. This unusual depiction on the map suggests that Admiral Piri Reis may have had access to source maps of remarkable antiquity and accuracy.
It's based on more than 20 earlier source maps. That he put all these maps together and derived his own map from these.
The theory surrounding the Piri Reis map opens a captivating chapter in the study of cartography and ancient civilizations, intertwining historical mysteries with speculative archaeology. This fascinating map, far exceeding the geographical knowledge of its time, has led some to propose that it might be based on sources from a pre-glacial era, potentially crafted by an advanced maritime civilization. Such a theory not only challenges our understanding of historical timelines, but also sparks broader discussions about the sophistication of ancient societies. The hypothesis of advanced ancient mariners suggests these navigators possessed the technological expertise to travel vast oceanic distances and create precise maps of their voyages. This level of proficiency would necessitate a deep understanding of astronomy, mathematics, and physics, attributes that are evident in civilizations renowned for their astronomical prowess, such as the Maya and the ancient Egyptians. Moreover, the widespread myths and shared architectural styles across distant ancient civilizations, such as pyramidal structures in Mesoamerica and Egypt, hint at a possible global interaction facilitated by seafaring skills.
I believe that it's worth considering the possibility of a remote common ancestor, which passed down key information that was inherited by later cultures.
These connections could indicate that these societies shared more than just architectural concepts, perhaps even cartographic information. Continuing with archaeological parallels, the legend of Atlantis as described by Plato, of a technologically advanced civilization lost to the sea, echoes this theory.
Ooh, archaeologists hate the word Atlantis. Because they've proved that Atlantis could never have existed, even though they have not looked at the parts of the world that need to be looked at.
While often regarded as a mere myth, the story of Atlantis resonates with those who theorize about prehistoric cultural exchanges mediated by a seafaring civilization. Such narratives provide a metaphorical framework that some scholars use to conceptualize real yet undiscovered advanced maritime societies. Another compelling site that aligns with this theory is Göbekli Tepe in modern-day Turkey.
Huge enclosures under the ground that they haven't excavated yet. The story of Göbekli Tepe is just beginning.
Dated to over 10,000 years ago, this site features sophisticated megalithic structures that predate Stonehenge by thousands of years, challenging conventional views on the development of early human societies.
It's going to require us to reconsider our whole dating sequence on megalithic sites around the world.
The complexity of Göbekli Tepe suggests that advanced societal structures and knowledge systems, possibly including navigation and map-making, could have existed much earlier than traditionally accepted. Additionally, mysterious underwater structures like the Yonaguni Monument in Japan add to the speculation about advanced prehistoric civilizations. These formations, controversially interpreted by some as man-made, might represent remnants of a sunken civilization that had sophisticated maritime technology. Such underwater discoveries continue to fuel debates and curiosity about the extent of prehistoric human achievements and their capabilities to navigate and understand the world around them. It's fascinating to consider how archaeological discoveries could provide a foundation for legends of advanced ancient civilizations. This integration suggests that stories of seafaring gods and heroes, such as Poseidon or Gilgamesh, might not just be mythical tales but could actually represent cultural memories of real historical figures from a globally connected ancient world. Take, for instance, the Vinland map, which surfaced in the 20th century and is purported to date back to the mid-15th century. This map includes a depiction of Vinland, a region of modern-day North America's northeast coast, famously associated with Norse explorations around the year 1000 AD. The controversy surrounding the map's authenticity, particularly debates fueled by conflicting scientific tests on the ink and parchment's age, adds a layer of mystery. If genuine, the Vinland map would be the earliest known depiction of the Americas, predating Columbus's voyages. Another intriguing comparison is with the Kangnido map, a pre-modern East Asian map from 1402, created during Korea's Joseon dynasty. This map predates both the Piri Reis and the Vinland maps and shows a generalized view of the known world at that time, including an oversized China and India, and a recognizably outlined Arabian Peninsula. Reflecting the Joseon dynasty's keen interest in geography and its diplomatic relationships, particularly with China and Japan, the Kangnido map underscores the historical significance of cartographic knowledge in facilitating trade and diplomatic missions in East Asia. Unlike the controversial aspects of the Piri Reis and Vinland maps, the Kangnido map is well documented and recognized for its historical accuracy within the scope of contemporary Asian knowledge. These maps not only showcase the cartographic skills of their respective cultures, but also highlight the global nature of medieval exploration and the interconnectivity of various societies through trade, exploration, and possibly even shared mythologies. As we delve deeper into the history of cartography, it's clear that maps from different cultures and eras offer unique insights into the geopolitical and philosophical mindsets of their creators. For instance, The Ming dynasty maps from early 15th century China, such as the Daming Hunyi II, which is an amalgamated map of the Great Ming Empire, showcase an impressive level of detail and scope. These maps presented the world from a distinctly Chinese perspective, centering on the vast expanse of the Ming Empire, while also extending to parts of Africa, Europe, and the rest of Asia. The cartographic techniques used were advanced for the time, incorporating grid systems and a consistent scale that European maps only started to use inconsistently much later. Unlike many European maps focused extensively on maritime exploration, the Ming maps prioritized land masses and political boundaries, reflecting their primary use for administrative and imperial purposes. The late 19th and early 20th centuries, there was a growing fascination with ancient civilizations, particularly in the Victorian era. This interest was driven by a mix of cultural trends in exploration, colonization, and a certain romantic allure attached to discovering lost cultures. Major institutions like museums and universities, primarily in Europe and the US, started funding expeditions to unearth ancient artifacts and understand the history of indigenous civilizations in the Americas. It was a time when archaeology began to evolve from just hunting for treasures to a more scientific approach, focusing on careful excavation and detailed analysis.
One of the things I've realized is that there is no classic Native American feature, that Native Americans are have a very complex genetic story with very many different elements brought into it, and we shouldn't be necessarily surprised by the supposedly non-Native American look.
Interestingly, during this period, many artifacts, especially the colossal heads and stone structures found in the Olmec region, were often wrongly attributed to other well-known civilizations like the Maya or Aztec. This was largely because the unique aspects of Olmec art and iconography weren't immediately recognized, partly due to a lack of an overall framework to understand the region's history before Columbus. A couple of notable explorers, John Lloyd Stephens and Frederick Catherwood, played a significant role in stirring up interest in Mesoamerican cultures with their explorations and writings, particularly their books on travels in Central America and Yucatan. Their detailed accounts and illustrations captured the public's imagination, sparking a wave of interest in these ancient cultures. While they mainly focused on the Maya, their approach to systematically document their findings and blend travel narratives with scholarly observations greatly influenced future archaeologists studying Mesoamerica.
It's been known by archaeologists for quite a long time that there are anomalous skulls in parts of Brazil, which appear to show very strongly Polynesian or African features, very much like the features that we see on the Olmec heads.
Around this time, there was also a trend in comparative archaeology, where discoveries from different parts of the world were compared, helping to place Mesoamerican civilizations in a global context. Museums began to transition from just storing artifacts to becoming centers of research and education, playing a crucial role in spreading knowledge about ancient cultures. This era also marked the start of interdisciplinary approaches in archaeology, integrating fields like anthropology, linguistics, and early forms of environmental science. This broader, more inclusive approach helped in piecing together a more comprehensive understanding of ancient civilizations, including the intriguing and complex Olmec culture. Back in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, when Western archaeologists were exploring Mesoamerica, they started coming across these massive stone heads. Some of them were over 9 feet tall and weighed several tons, with distinctive features like flat noses and fleshy cheeks, often adorned with helmet-like headgear. But here's the thing. Despite their impressive size and unique features, their true cultural significance wasn't immediately understood.
They're most famous for is these huge carved human heads, which can be on a scale of up to 20 to 25 tons, which have curious features which have been interpreted variously as Polynesian, African, don't look like classic Native American features.
One of the earliest significant findings was made by José Melgari Serrano in 1862 at Tres Zapotes in Veracruz. He unearthed what we now know as one of the first Olmec colossal heads. Melgari Serrano even described the head as having Ethiopian features, which tells us a lot about the perceptions and biases of that era. But, and this is crucial, his discovery didn't really spark a broader understanding of the Olmec culture right away. For a long time, these heads were seen more as intriguing oddities rather than pieces of a larger cultural puzzle. It took several decades and a lot more digging before the significance of these heads truly began to be appreciated. Initially, many people thought these artifacts might belong to other known civilizations, like the Maya or Aztec, because the idea of the Olmecs being a distinct, early Mesoamerican civilization hadn't quite taken shape yet. It wasn't until the mid-20th century, with more systematic excavations led by archaeologists like Matthew Stirling, that the true picture began to emerge. They found more colossal heads and other artifacts, and this really helped to establish the Olmecs as a significant and influential civilization in their own right, predating and possibly even influencing others like the Maya and the Aztecs. Back in 1945, a really important expedition took place, led by this guy named Matthew Stirling. He and his team headed to San Lorenzo, right in the heart of what was once Olmec territory. This wasn't just any random adventure. It was a big deal because the Smithsonian Institution was backing it. They saw the potential in figuring out more about the Olmec sites, which could really shed some light on Mesoamerican prehistory. Before Stirling got there, there had been some poking around in the area, mostly because people kept finding these huge stone heads. These finds were intriguing but didn't quite give the full picture. So enter Stirling. He was already pretty well known in archaeology circles and had a real knack for Mesoamerican cultures. He was the perfect guy to take on such a complex task. Now, it wasn't an easy job. The San Lorenzo site was in this tropical area, covered in thick jungle. Just getting to the site and starting to dig was a huge challenge. They had to clear a bunch of jungle without messing up any artifacts that might be hiding there. And let me tell you, the weather didn't make things any easier. It was humid, unpredictable, and not the best for keeping ancient artifacts in one piece. The site itself was huge, spreading out over several kilometers. Stirling and his team had to figure out where to start digging because there was no way they could cover the whole area. They did an initial survey which took a lot of time and planning, and then decided on the most promising spots to start excavating. They had to be super careful with how they dug things up. The artifacts were old and fragile, especially with the humidity. Plus, they had to keep track of everything they found, where they found it, and all the details, which was crucial for understanding the site later on.
It wasn't something the Maya made up. The Olmecs used that same symbolism. So the Mayan calendar is actually an Olmec calendar.
What they found at San Lorenzo was amazing. It turned out to be one of the oldest big cities in Mesoamerica, dating way back to around 1200 to 900 BCE. That's even before civilizations like the Maya and Aztecs that most people are familiar with. The artifacts they unearthed, especially those massive stone heads, were a big deal. They were carved from single blocks of basalt and had all these unique facial features. It was clear that the people who made them were incredibly skilled. All this hard work at San Lorenzo really helped piece together the story of the Olmecs. It gave us a clearer timeline and showed just how complex and advanced their society was. Diving deeper into San Lorenzo, which is super important when it comes to understanding the Olmec civilization, it's considered the oldest major city in Mesoamerica, dating back to around 1200 to 900 BCE. That's way before other famous civilizations like the Maya and Aztecs. Radiocarbon dating was key here. It helped archaeologists nail down the timeline of the site, giving a much clearer picture of when the Olmecs were doing their thing. Now, the most famous stuff they found at San Lorenzo. Definitely the colossal heads. These huge sculptures were carved from single basalt blocks and are known for their unique facial features like almond-shaped eyes and broad noses. A lot of them have these intricate headdresses too, which might have been a sign of high status or had some ceremonial purpose. But there's still a lot of debate about what all the symbols mean. The size of these heads is just mind-blowing. Some are up to 3 meters high and weigh around 50 tons. Imagine the skill it took to carve those. But it wasn't just the heads. They found jade figurines and a bunch of different pottery styles, which tell us a lot about their daily life, art, and even trade. The jade stuff suggests they had trade networks because jade wasn't just lying around everywhere. And the buildings. They found large structures like platforms and what might have been houses for the elite. This points to a society that was really well organized and had the resources to build big. The way San Lorenzo was laid out is also fascinating. It had a central axis, which indicates that the city was carefully planned. There were separate areas for ceremonies and living, showing a sophisticated urban structure and hinting at a social hierarchy. All this stuff from San Lorenzo has been super important for understanding the Olmecs. It's given us a much clearer timeline of their civilization and shown just how complex their society was. The variety in the artifacts, from the colossal heads to the pottery, shows that they were not only skilled in stone carving, but had artists and craftsmen who were really good at what they did. It's like San Lorenzo has given us a window into a past world, showing us how these ancient people lived, worked, and created. After the exciting discoveries at San Lorenzo in the 1940s, archaeologists turned their attention to La Venta, another key Olmec site in Tabasco, Mexico, in the 1950s. This shift was a big deal because La Venta offered a new window into the Olmec world. Known as one of the earliest complex societies in Mesoamerica, the explorations here were more focused and methodical, thanks to archaeologists like Philip Drucker and Robert Heiser. These guys weren't just digging around, they brought in techniques from other fields like anthropology and geology, giving a fuller picture of the Olmec civilization. La Venta is super important for understanding the peak of Olmec culture. The site was in its prime from around 900 to 400 BCE, a time when the Olmecs were really showing off their artistic and architectural skills. One of the standout features of La Venta is the Great Pyramid. It's not like the pyramids in Egypt, this one's made of earth and clay and has a unique conical shape. It was one of the biggest structures in ancient Mesoamerica at the time, which tells us the Olmecs were pretty good at organizing big construction projects. The pyramid was probably more than just a big building. It's believed to have been a key spot for ceremonies or religious activities, kind of like the heart of Olmec ritual life. The way they built it and other structures at La Venta, and how they aligned them with astronomical bodies, shows they were pretty savvy with engineering and astronomy. It was likely a bustling cultural hub where significant ceremonies and gatherings happened. When archaeologists started digging at La Venta, they did things a bit differently than before. They were super systematic about it, focusing on layers of soil and the context of each artifact they found. But they had their work cut out for them. The tropical climate and the fact that many Olmec structures were made of earth really made preserving and understanding these finds tough. They had to be meticulous in recording everything they dug up, which has been a goldmine for future analysis. Now, just like at San Lorenzo, La Venta is famous for its massive basalt heads. Carved from huge boulders, these heads are thought to be representations of Olmec rulers or other big shots in their society. But there's more. The site is full of altars with intricate carvings showing people, animals, and all sorts of symbolic scenes. It's like getting a glimpse into their mythology and rituals. And then there's the jade. La Venta turned up loads of jade artifacts, from beautifully carved figurines to celts. These weren't just pretty things to look at. They showed how skilled the Olmecs were and hinted at long trade networks, since jade wasn't just lying around nearby. But here's where it gets really interesting. The burial sites they found were complex, with all kinds of elaborate practices. They also found mosaic pavements made of serpentine and various offerings, which likely had deep religious meaning. All this stuff from La Venta has been super important in piecing together who the Olmecs were, their social structure, religious beliefs, and artistic talents. However, keeping La Venta in good shape for future studies is a challenge. The site's battling both natural elements and human factors, so preserving this amazing place is crucial, not just for archaeology buffs, but for understanding a key part of human history. Discoveries of ancient civilizations in the Amazon jungle have unveiled a complex and sophisticated history that challenges previous assumptions about the region. These discoveries, made through a combination of aerial surveys, satellite imagery, and ground expeditions, reveal the existence of large, well-planned urban settlements, extensive road networks, and advanced agricultural techniques, suggesting a much higher level of social organization and environmental management than previously thought. The Cuhicugu complex in the Upper Xingu region of the Brazilian Amazon offers an incredible glimpse into the advanced urban planning and societal organization of pre-Columbian civilizations, long before European contact. Nestled in the remote Amazon basin in present-day Mato Grosso, Brazil, this area is a treasure trove of biodiversity. The dense rainforests and network of rivers likely played a key role in the development and sustenance of this complex society. Covering about 50 square kilometers, the Cuhicugu complex is home to over 20 settlements. These aren't just randomly placed, they're strategically positioned to make the most of the region's natural resources. What's fascinating is how these settlements are connected. Imagine a series of straight roads, some stretching for several kilometers, laid out with such precision that they often align with the cardinal directions. This not only facilitated travel, but also shows a high level of planning and coordination. Then there's the canal system, an impressive display of hydraulic engineering, likely used for everything from transportation to water management, and maybe even fish farming. The variety of structures within the complex is equally remarkable. From large public buildings and ceremonial spaces to individual homes, the architecture reflects a hierarchy in building techniques, hinting at different social or functional roles within the society. And speaking of society, estimates suggest that at its peak, Kuhikugu could have supported a whopping 30,000 to 50,000 people. This is deduced from the sheer number of residential structures and the expanse of agricultural land.
Along the Amazon, he reported seeing incredible cities, advanced arts and crafts, millions of people, a thriving culture.
The rediscovery of the Kuhikugu complex in the Amazon is a fascinating story that blends modern technology with traditional archaeology. Initially, this hidden gem was revealed through aerial surveys and satellite images. Imagine flying over the dense Amazon rainforest and suddenly spotting the outlines of an ancient civilization. Then, archaeologists like Michael Heckenberger and his team took over, conducting extensive ground excavations. They employed advanced techniques like LiDAR, which is like X-ray vision for archaeologists, to see through the forest canopy and map the area accurately. Now let's talk about how old this place is. Using carbon dating, a method to tell the age of artifacts and soil, scientists figured out that people lived in the Kuhikugu complex for several centuries, dating back to as early as 800 AD. They found all sorts of things like pottery, stone tools, and ornaments, giving us a glimpse into the daily life and creativity of the people who lived there. Here's the kicker. Before finding Kuhikugu, many thought the Amazon was mostly an untouched wilderness before Europeans arrived. But this discovery turned that idea on its head, showing that the area was home to a large and complex society. It's like finding a hidden chapter of history in your backyard. This place shows us that humans had a big impact on the Amazon, way earlier than we thought. They even made their own super fertile soil called terra preta, which is still rich and productive today. What's really cool about Kuhikugu is how it shows that the people there knew how to live sustainably. They had advanced farming practices, managed water well, and lived in harmony with their environment. It's like they were eco-friendly before it was trendy. This discovery also made us rethink the role of indigenous societies in the Amazon. It turns out they knew a lot about how to manage the land and shape the landscape. It's a reminder of how important it is to value and learn from indigenous knowledge. And lastly, the biodiversity in the Amazon today might partly be thanks to these ancient civilizations. The variety of plants near these archaeological sites is way more than in other areas of the forest.
The Amazon is basically a garden. The Amazon is a man-made rainforest. There are certain trees like Brazil nut trees or the ice cream bean tree, which are food crops, which are very, very valuable.
Marajoara Island at the Amazon River's mouth is like a time capsule that takes us back to the Marajoara culture, a sophisticated civilization from around 800 to 1400 CE. Imagine an island almost as big as Switzerland, right at the meeting point of a river and the ocean. This place, with its mix of forests, savannas, and wetlands, is not just big but also incredibly diverse. It's the perfect backdrop for the Marajoara people to thrive, providing everything from food to resources for their unique lifestyle. Now, the Marajoara culture is something special. They were known for their artistic flair, especially their ceramics. Picture pots and plates with intricate designs, complex patterns, and images of animals and people. They weren't just making these for fun. Their ceramics were a big part of their culture and beliefs, like the large, beautifully decorated urns they used for burials. These suggest they had quite complex ideas about life, death, and everything in between. But it's not just their art that's fascinating. They built these massive earthen mounds, some over 10 meters high. Think about that. That's like stacking 3 buses on top of each other. These mounds were probably used for everything from homes to ceremonial sites, and might have even protected them from the frequent floods. This shows they were pretty savvy engineers and architects, adapting to their challenging environment in style. The way they organized their society was also quite something. It seems there was a clear hierarchy, with some people leading the way in managing resources and religious practices. And they had different roles for men and women, which we can figure out from the things they left behind. Now let's talk about their farming skills. They were ahead of their time, creating raised fields to keep their crops safe from flooding. Their diet was a mix of what they grew, along with fish and game from the surrounding area. And they were smart about managing water with their canals and ditches, which was pretty crucial in a place that floods a lot. Santarém, right where the Tapajos meets the Amazon River, is a fascinating place, especially when you think about its history. This spot was like the grand central station of its time, bustling with trade and culture. Picture boats coming in and out, carrying all sorts of goods and ideas from different parts of South America. The area around Santarém was rich in resources, which helped the settlement thrive. Now the people of Santarém were known for their incredible pottery. We're talking about really intricate designs here, geometric patterns, pictures of people and animals, and even mythical beings. The level of detail in these pots and plates is just mind-blowing. And it wasn't just about looking good. These designs tell us a lot about their culture and beliefs. The way they made this pottery was pretty advanced too. They had techniques for molding, firing, and painting that were way ahead of their time. The variety of colors and the way they used glazes show they really knew their stuff when it came to chemistry and kiln construction. It's like they were the master chefs of pottery, knowing exactly how to cook up the perfect piece. Santarém was more than just a local market. It was a cultural hub. The different styles and motifs in the pottery suggest they were mixing it up with all sorts of cultures. And it wasn't just goods they were trading. They were probably swapping stories, ideas, and practices too. The town itself, from what we can tell from the ruins, was pretty well organized. They had different areas for living, working, and probably for community gatherings or ceremonies. It's like they had their own little urban planning going on. But back to the pottery, it's not just about how it was made, but what it tells us about the people of Santarém. It gives us a peek into their daily lives, what they valued, and how they connected with others. The geoglyphs in the Amazon, especially in the Brazilian states of Acre and Rondônia, are like a secret world that's been hidden under the dense forest canopy for centuries. It wasn't until the late 20th and early 21st centuries, mostly because of deforestation, that these incredible earthworks started to come to light, thanks to technology like satellite imagery and LiDAR, which is basically like having X-ray vision from space. Over 450 of these geoglyphs have been mapped. This discovery has completely changed our view of how people lived in the Amazon before Columbus. Now, these aren't just a few lines in the dirt. We're talking about huge designs that can stretch over a kilometer and cover several square kilometers. They come in all sorts of shapes: circles, squares, rectangles, and more intricate forms. Some even have patterns like radial spokes, which add to their complexity. The sheer size of these geoglyphs hints at a society that was really well organized and could bring together a lot of people to create these massive works. But how did they make them? Well, they would remove the top layer of soil and vegetation, revealing the lighter-colored earth underneath. This contrast made the design stand out when viewed from above. It seems like they used a variety of tools made from materials like stone, bone, and wood. The level of precision in these geoglyphs shows they were not only skilled, but also had serious planning chops. Some of these geoglyphs line up with astronomical events, like the solstices and equinoxes. This suggests they might have been used for tracking celestial events or for ceremonial or religious purposes. Imagine large groups of people gathering at these geoglyphs for festivals or rituals. It must have been quite a sight. But here's the really cool part. These geoglyphs tell us that the societies in the Amazon before Europeans arrived were much more complex than we thought. They could modify their environment on a large scale and had a social structure where leaders could organize big projects. And despite the size of these geoglyphs, they were made in a way that respected and integrated with the surrounding landscape. So discovering these geoglyphs has really turned our understanding of the Amazon's history on its head. It's no longer seen as just a vast, untouched wilderness, but as a place where complex, organized societies lived and actively shaped their world. It's a reminder of how much history there is still to uncover and how much we can learn from it. Anuradhapura, one of Sri Lanka's most significant historical cities, was the capital of an ancient empire that ruled the region for over 1,000 years. Known as the Land of Kings, it was a center of Sri Lankan culture and home to magnificent Buddhist monuments. Among its ruins is the 40-acre Ranmasu Uyana, or Golden Fish Park. a royal garden with lush pathways, pools, and engraved illustrations. However, the most intriguing feature of this park is not a monument, but an enigmatic carving known as Sakwala Chakraya, or the universe cycle, which remains one of the most mysterious ancient artifacts not only in Sri Lanka, but globally. So what is Sakwala Chakraya? Who built it and why? We'll break it down and uncover Sakwala Chakraya's hidden secrets. Sakwala Chakraya is a 6-foot wide carving made up of 7 concentric circles, divided by vertical and horizontal lines, filled with crossed circles and other symbols. The outer ring depicts various marine animals. Despite its intricate design, archaeologists and historians are baffled by its origins and purpose. It stands out among the other carvings in Anuradhapura, as it bears no resemblance to traditional Buddhist iconography found elsewhere in Sri Lanka or the world. This anomaly has left experts wondering how it came to exist in a city filled with monuments from the Anuradhapura Empire, which began in 377 BCE. What makes Sakwala Chakraya even more puzzling is that it is absent from historical records meticulously kept by the Anuradhapura Empire and Buddhist monasteries. These records provide detailed accounts of the empire's architecture, religious practices, and daily life, yet they do not mention the creation, function, or even existence of Sakwala Chakraya. Some scientists have speculated that the carving could be up to 6,500 years old, possibly making it one of the world's oldest. One of the earliest studies on Sakwala Chakraya was conducted by British archaeologist H.C.P. Bell in 1911. Bell theorized that the carving represented Buddhist notions of the universe, describing its concentric circles and surrounding symbols as representations of cosmic elements. However, this explanation fell apart when researchers noted that the carving's design did not match any known Buddhist universe depictions, which prompted further speculation. Some suggested that Sakwala Chakraya might be a blueprint for a technical project, like an irrigation system or a place for discussion, as indicated by the 4 seats carved into the rock nearby. Recent interpretations of Sakwala Chakraya propose that the carving resembles modern electrical diagrams. The concentric circles may represent electromagnetic waves, while symbols resembling satellite antennas and circuit components have sparked theories that the carving could be an ancient electrical blueprint. Though these ideas may seem far-fetched, they have gained attention due to the remarkable resemblance between the carving's symbols and modern technical diagrams. Additionally, the possibility of ancient civilizations using electricity is not entirely dismissed by some researchers, though it remains speculative. Even more extraordinary are local legends, which claim Sakwala Chakraya is a stargate, a portal to other parts of the universe. According to Sri Lankan epics, this stargate allowed gods to travel between Earth and distant cosmic destinations. Many people believe that the carving holds a secret code that, when activated, could open the stargate. Some tantric Buddhist monks still meditate in front of the carving, hoping to unlock its potential. Although this theory is dismissed by mainstream science, paranormal researcher Praveen Mohan added to the mystery in 2019 when he detected unusual energy emissions from the carving using an EMF detector. Further investigations of Anuradhapura reveal that its ancient builders possessed remarkable astronomical knowledge. A study in 1996 by researcher Mihindukula Surya, Susantha Fernando, found that 3 of the city's main stupas were aligned with 3 stars in the Orion constellation. This astronomical precision extended beyond the stupas. Archaeologists discovered that Ranmasu Uyana, the park where Sakwala Chakraya sits, served as an astronomical calendar. Stone structures in the park were designed to track the positions of the sun and stars, marking the solar year and predicting important astronomical events. The question remains, how did Anuradhapura's ancient builders acquire such advanced knowledge? Their expertise wasn't limited to astronomy. The Anuradhapura region is also famous for its engineering marvels, including an advanced hydraulic system that provided water for agriculture, drinking, and royal gardens. This system, consisting of interconnected reservoirs, canals, and modern-style valve pits, is still considered a model for modern water management. With Sri Lanka facing the effects of climate change, researchers are looking to this ancient hydraulic system for solutions to current water management issues. During the empire's prominence from 377 BCE to 1017 CE, Anuradhapura became a hub of world knowledge, attracting scholars from as far as China and Kashmir. Visitors came to study texts and receive guidance from sages on subjects like science, engineering, agriculture, and philosophy. Interestingly, archaeological evidence suggests that a thriving settlement existed in Anuradhapura centuries before the empire officially began. This raises questions about the origins of this advanced civilization and how it acquired such profound knowledge. One possible clue lies in the great South Asian epic, the Ramayana. Composed between the 8th century BCE and the 3rd century CE, it tells the story of the Indian prince Rama and his battle with the evil king Ravana of Lanka. While Ravana is portrayed as the antagonist in the Ramayana, Sri Lankan sources view him differently, as an extraordinary leader of an advanced civilization. Ravana was said to be a scholar, inventor, and legendary scientist who wrote about medicine and astrology. According to legend, he possessed advanced technologies, including the Pushpaka Vimana, a flying machine described as a chariot resembling a bright cloud in the sky. Ravana's reign is said to have been one of great prosperity, with tales of even the poorest households eating from golden pots. For Sri Lankans, Ravana is not a mythical figure, but a real king who ruled thousands of years ago, around 7,000 years before the present day, according to the Ramayana. This raises the question, how could Ravana have had access to advanced technologies like flying machines, cures for diseases, and astronomical knowledge far ahead of his time? Some believe that the answers to these questions can be found at the incredible archaeological sites around Anuradhapura. One of the most famous of these is Sigiriya, a fortress built atop a 600-foot column of rock, located about 45 miles from Anuradhapura. Sigiriya was a marvel of ancient engineering, complete with a palace, landscaped gardens, and a massive pool. Archaeologists believe the fortress was in use at least 1,500 years ago, but the scale of the construction still baffles researchers. The builders of Sigiriya are said to have moved over 3 million bricks to the top of the rock, which seems impossible without modern technology. Additionally, the 90-foot-long water tank atop the rock was carved out of solid granite, and despite droughts or heavy rains, it never dries up or overflows. This engineering feat has baffled scientists, leading some to speculate about how the ancient builders could have achieved such precision with primitive tools. According to ancient Sri Lankan sources, Sigiriya was built by the gods as an impregnable fortress for King Ravana. In 1907, archaeologists discovered a massive picture gallery of paintings in the caves around Sigiriya. These paintings depicted figures emerging from clouds and carrying various objects, sparking theories that they might represent the gods or perhaps extraterrestrial visitors who helped Ravana build his fortress. The story of Sakwala Chakraya comes into play again when considering these legends. Some believe that the Stargate referenced in local myths was not just depicted in the carving, but was actually constructed at Sigiriya, allowing Ravana's visitors from the sky to travel to and from Earth. If these gods were extraterrestrial visitors, it might explain Ravana's advanced knowledge and technological capabilities, including the Pushpaka Vimana flying machine. About 60 miles from Sigiriya lies another intriguing site, Danigala Circular Rock, known to locals as Alien Mountain due to frequent UFO sightings. According to legend, Danigala was the site of Ravana's aviation headquarters, where he landed and launched his flying machines. Locals believe that the knowledge of flight Ravana possessed came from the visitors from the sky, and that Danigala served as a landing pad for their crafts. In modern times, hundreds of UFO sightings have been reported at Danigala, adding to its mystique. As research continues, the mystery surrounding Anuradhapura, Sigiriya, and Sakwala Chakraya deepens. In 1862, a colossal stone head was unearthed near Tres Zapotes, Veracruz, by José Melgar, a Mexican explorer and antiquarian. This head puzzled Melgar, who didn't realize its cultural significance. Despite his detailed documentation of the head, it didn't spark immediate widespread interest.
Everyone goes to the big Mayan sites, or they go to Teotihuacan and Mexico City because they're impressive. Whereas the Olmec sites, there's not much left.
The head remained an isolated curiosity for many years, as the region was still relatively unexplored, and it would take several more decades before systematic archaeological efforts began to reveal the full extent of the Olmec civilization. The formal recognition of the Olmec civilization began in earnest in the early 20th century, thanks largely to the efforts of archaeologists like Franz Blom and Oliver Lafarge. In the 1920s, Blom and Lafarge conducted an expedition to the Gulf Coast and encountered more colossal heads and other artifacts at Tres Zapotes.
But no one really knows anything. There's no writing, there's no good legends or stories that come down describing what they were doing.
Their findings, published in 1926, drew the attention of the academic community to the region. Their meticulous documentation of the artifacts provided detailed descriptions and photographs that allowed other researchers to start piecing together the unique characteristics of the Olmec civilization. The term Olmec, derived from the Nahuatl word Olmecatl, meaning rubber people, was initially used to describe these early Gulf Coast inhabitants who lived around 1200 to 400 BCE. The name later came to refer to the broader cultural and archaeological phenomena associated with the sites and artifacts discovered in this region. The designation rubber people is particularly intriguing because it highlights one of the Olmec's notable achievements: the production and use of rubber. The Olmec were among the first in the world to develop techniques for processing latex from local rubber trees, which they used to create various items, including balls for ceremonial games. This innovation underscores their sophisticated understanding of natural materials and their practical applications. In the 1930s and 1940s, extensive excavations were conducted at San Lorenzo Tenochtitlan, a major Olmec site in Veracruz, led by Matthew Sterling of the Smithsonian Institution and the National Geographic Society. These excavations uncovered numerous colossal heads, altars, and other stone sculptures.
We don't really know what they were. All we've got left is the stone heads to look at and decipher.
San Lorenzo was identified as one of the earliest and most significant Olmec centers, dating back to around 1200 BCE. The site's monumental architecture and sophisticated drainage systems revealed the complexity and advancement of Olmec society. Sterling's work was groundbreaking in many ways. His discoveries at San Lorenzo included massive basalt sculptures, some weighing up to 40 tons, which had been transported over considerable distances from their quarries. This feat highlighted the Olmec's remarkable engineering skills and their ability to mobilize and organize large labor forces. This required advanced logistics and engineering, indicating a highly organized society with a strong central authority. The drainage system at San Lorenzo, consisting of carefully laid stone-lined channels, demonstrated the Olmec's understanding of hydraulics and urban planning. The discovery of workshop areas for specialized craft production, particularly in stone carving and jade working, underscored the site's economic and cultural importance. Interestingly, the societal organization required for such monumental projects in San Lorenzo can be compared to ancient Egypt's construction of the pyramids, with both civilizations mobilizing vast labor forces and demonstrating advanced knowledge in engineering and logistics, reflecting the centralization of power and resources. The site of Venta in Tabasco became another focal point of Olmec studies, with excavations in the 1940s and 1950s, also spearheaded by Sterling, unearthing a wealth of artifacts.
But there's very interesting artifacts and sites below south of Mexico City that myself, I've been visiting them for years.
These included more colossal heads, jade figurines, and intricately carved stelae. Venta was recognized as a major ceremonial center that flourished around 900 to 400 BCE. The site's layout, featuring a large pyramid, plazas, and stone monuments, illustrated the Olmec's architectural and artistic achievements. Venta's Great Pyramid, a clay structure about 34 meters high, is one of the earliest pyramid-like constructions in Mesoamerica. This pyramid, along with the site's central axis and complex layout, influenced later Mesoamerican ceremonial centers. The discovery of elaborate burials and offering caches containing jade, serpentine, and other exotic materials indicated the site's religious and political significance. One of the most fascinating artifacts from Venta is the ambassador offering. a cache containing 16 male figurines and 6 Celts arranged in a ritualistic pattern. These figurines, made of jade and other precious materials, appear to be involved in a ceremonial scene, suggesting a complex social hierarchy and religious practices. Venta also revealed numerous basalt columns used in both construction and as altars, some intricately carved with symbols and deities, indicating a sophisticated belief system and a high level of artistic achievement. Tres Zapotes continued to yield important discoveries, including the famous Stela C, which contained one of the earliest known long count dates in Mesoamerica, corresponding to 32 BCE. This finding provided crucial evidence of the Olmec's influence on later Mesoamerican cultures, particularly in the development of calendrical systems. Tres Zapotes also provided evidence of a prolonged occupation, with artifacts ranging from early Olmec to post-Olmec times, indicating the site's long-term importance. The site featured multiple phases of construction, with mounds, plazas, and stone sculptures suggesting continuous development and adaptation. Laguna de los Cheros, another critical Olmec site, yielded numerous artifacts and monumental sculptures. The site's strategic location near trade routes highlights its role as a commercial hub. Artifacts such as pottery, figurines, and tools suggest extensive trade and interaction with neighboring cultures, further illustrating the Olmec's wide-ranging influence. The Olmec were master artisans in jade and serpentine, creating intricate masks, figurines, and celts often depicting shamanistic or deified figures. The craftsmanship and detail of these objects indicate a high level of artistic skill and the importance of these materials in Olmec society. The Olmec were also pioneers in the production of rubber. They developed techniques to process latex from local rubber trees, which they used to create balls for the Mesoamerican ball game, a ritualistic and possibly competitive sport that held significant cultural importance. Many Olmec artifacts depict shamanistic figures and were jaguar motifs, suggesting a belief system centered around shamanic practices and animal transformation. These motifs are believed to represent the powerful connection between humans and the spiritual world, with shamans acting as intermediaries. The Olmec's extensive trade networks allowed them to influence and interact with distant cultures. They traded jade, obsidian, and other valuable materials, spreading their cultural and technological innovations across Mesoamerica. Research on the Olmec civilization continues to this day, with new discoveries and interpretations emerging from ongoing excavations and advanced technologies like remote sensing and DNA analysis. These efforts are steadily unveiling more about the Olmec's social structure, economy, and interactions with neighboring cultures. Recent studies have utilized LiDAR technology to uncover previously hidden structures and settlements, providing a more comprehensive view of Olmec urbanism and their environmental adaptations. LiDAR has been especially useful in mapping out the complex layouts of Olmec cities, revealing the sophistication of their urban planning and their ability to adapt to the challenging environment of the Gulf Coast.